Thanks for tuning in. I'm Margaret-Hunter Wade, and you're watching Cox Connections only on Cox 9. This past summer, the Roanoke Police Department paired officers with kids to make cards for sick children. Coined Art with a Cop, it was part of a community outreach and officer training program. Joining me today are Scott Leamon and Officer Ryan Brady to tell us about it. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so let's start off. This is a cool program that you all did, but what exactly was Art with a Cop?
Well, we were trying to look for ways within the department in the summer to connect, children with the officers. There were challenges, one is, the children in the middle schools, and there are some elementary school connections too. In the high schools, you don't get to see your SRO, your school resource officer, for 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. Also the calls for service go up a little bit, in the summer, so the officers are busy. But we felt like that at the lunch program that we found out about, that's sort of connected through the federal government, they give them some money for the Roanoke Redevelopment Housing Authority at several of their sites, and they're not necessarily always housing authority sites, but several sites throughout the area that had this program. We wanted to pick, a rotation that we could hit a couple times a week. Mm-hmm. So it started out with that. We at first wanted to do some crime prevention stuff, anti-bullying stuff, anti-school violence stuff. We did pedestrian safety. Our friends at Chick-fil-A were nice enough to give us some free coupons. So, we would go in, we would have the officers kind of hang out with the kids. They would talk about pedestrian safety, and we give them little pamphlets to read. And then, it started out as, giving, answer the right question, easy question, you get a free fries from Chick-fil-A. So, of course, it's a long summer, so you have to think of some other things to do to interact with them, So that's when we came up with Art with a Cop, where, we would just basically bring in, sheets of paper and crayons, just the old school stuff, fold the sheet of paper in half, and we decided, we got with Corellia and said, we'd like to make cards for the children, at Corellia Clinic's Children's Hospital. We haven't delivered those yet, but we will. So at every site we hit, which is basically a rotation of 4 or 5 that we would hit a lot, we decided to come in with the officers and have Art with a Cop. And we thought it was very successful. The officers are required to get a certain amount of community presentation points, per year. So this helped with the officers with that. It helped form connections with the younger kids that we hoped. The way I turned to the officers is, I want to plant seeds now, that, we may not reap for 5, 10 years. There may be a future officer that's at high school right now, that maybe we form this connection with a 5-year-old kid that may not, you may not be able to reap, but maybe it's some seeds, that are planted here, positive seeds that 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, we harvest that crop then, as far as good, positive interactions that started early.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking more the feeling that a child would have just not being intimidated by the officer sitting next to them, but the fact that it might inspire a future police officer.
And I'll admit, we did have, at first, in late June, when this started, mid-June, we did impact the crowd. I mean, I'll admit, when you have a bunch of uniformed officers showing up, in their marked cars, we did impact the lunch crowd. But we saw as we went into July and then into August, the program ended on August 8th, that there were more kids coming around wanting to interact with the officers, and we did not impact the crowd as much. So that's how, if there's any way to gauge success,
that's a good way.
I guess that would be it.
Absolutely. So this kind of came under an approach for a community outreach within the police department, and you've kind of had a reorganization, and we're seeing maybe a little bit more community action from the police department, more visibility. So Officer Brady, you are part of, you're a community resource officer.
I
And
am.
what does that mean to the average citizen as to what you do? Are you still out patrolling? Are you doing, investigations?
I do it all.
Okay.
Basically, I'm a member of the newly created community response team. As a community resource officer, one portion of the city for mine is Southwest. There's 4 community resource officers within that unit.
Okay.
There's one for each respective corner of the city. So you have Northwest, Northeast, and Southeast. Basically, our responsibilities were the liaison between the community and the police department. The whole development of CRT, our community response team, is really focusing on creating that partnership between the community and the police department.
Right.
So it's really important. So what we do is that we'll have community meetings, we'll speak with citizens, really try to bridge that gap. It's very citizen-driven, citizen-centric. It's a data-driven approach. We have an ISTAR, which is our intelligence unit. They generate, based on raw data, previous arrests, previous warrants, things that we've had, incidents. They'll look at the past there and create kind of an outlook as far as what we can expect week to week, day to day, month to month, throughout the year.
Okay.
And then we pair that with our detective bureau, our patrol units, and really the community, which is our eyes and ears in the community.
Right.
So they're out there, they're seeing everything. We can't be everywhere at once. So I stress that at every community meeting I go to. I tell the citizens, look, eyes and ears, you see everything, call us, let us know. We really just want to foster that relationship with the community, that they feel comfortable with us, that one-on-one connection with the police officers.
It's the same kind of theme that we're talking about with the kids, with the citizens.
That's right.
Making the police officers less intimidating.
That's right.
And more of a partner.
Yeah, it's really a department-wide effort, because the things that I try to offer the patrol officers are things like Art with a Cop, things like that. There's some stuff coming up, in the fall and everything when the costs for service do go down that I'll be able to offer through other connections with the community. If we have a community meeting to where it's a business association, we have detectives that could come in and say, explain how crime prevention-wise, how to avoid being the credit card fraud, how to reduce your shoplifting, things like that. The patrol officers, now have a little bit more time, because there are more officers out on the streets, because the CRT, is out there working hand in hand with patrol and the community, really. So a lot of what we're seeing now is officers, that used to, were just focused on writing reports because these are going to hand off to another silo. Okay, this is a drug report. This has got to go to Vice. They're having actually more time now to work those cases individually,
right.
And that's been one of the really, really big wins for the citizens, for reorg, is more cops on the streets and more officers that are, can really work those cases before. They might have had to hand off.
So this is truly a win-win for everybody. Both officers are getting something out of this, and of course the community in return. So thank you all for sharing this, and I hope this continues to go really well for you.
Thank you.
We do too.
To learn more about the Roanoke Police Department and its community outreach programs, visit them at the web address on your screen. And before you go, I want to personally thank you for choosing Cox Communications for your entertainment, information, and communication needs. We know you could have chosen another provider, but because you chose us, we promise to provide you with quality products backed up by a talented local team of professionals. I'm Margaret-Hunter Wade, and we'll see you next time on Cox Connections.